The little things in life are often taken for granted. But what if you paid attention to the details around you better than others, and you noticed something was deeply wrong, but no one else would believe you? Would you survive, or would you be forgotten too?
What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my friends. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for a little spooky in your weekly. I'm your host and narrator, Henrik Kuto, and we have a brand new story from a brand new author, and I'm very excited to reveal it to you. But first, I need to say thank you so very much. And if you could, make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcasting app, because you see, October is our season. It's a time when the spooky really permeates, and we'll have plenty of excellent shows for you. So make sure you're subscribed, and while you're over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other app, why not leave us a star rating? It's a free way to help us bring in brand new listeners, and from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate it. We also have a brand new episode of Monthly Spooky coming up next Monday. It's our scary, funny talk show that I think you'd really enjoy if you need to blow off some steam, and not just the steam from your pumpkin spice latte. And by the way, over on Patreon, we have 89 backers. I want to see us hit 100 this year. Will you help us make that goal? For as little as $1 a month, you get bonus content and my undying appreciation. So check it out at weeklyspooky.com. That's where you can find out everything you could ever need to know about our show. At weeklyspooky.com, there's merchandise and so much more to make sure you have the proper amount of spooky in your day. But for now, my friends, it's time for a story. So get yourself comfortable, get yourself a snack, and we're coming at you right after this word from our sponsors. Not Them by Tyler Belmont. My name is Anthony Thomas. I'm a paranormal investigator. Yeah, you heard that right. I investigate the things that go bump in the night and make sure they know that someone out there bumps back. I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and as you might expect, I've seen a lot of strange and weird things that I can't really explain. Ghosts, demons, ghouls, eldritch abominations, I've seen them all. I used to have a partner I worked cases with back in the day. Margaret Clark was her name. She was a fierce one, to be sure. A no-bullshit type, ready to jump into action without hesitation. We actually got an award for rescuing some infant children from a group of vampires back in the day. We were hailed as heroes. Margaret and I were close, and we would get drinks every Friday night at the local bar by the office, and sometimes her wife Courtney would join us. Typically, we'd just blow off steam, have a smoke, and go off on the latest spooky creature that we had to deal with that day. I always admired her determination. She never liked putting other people's lives at risk. She would always put her life on the line to help anybody. But it had to be hers, no one else's. Suppose she may have seen herself as a hero. I miss working with her. It's a real shame what happened. This all started on a Monday morning. I had just arrived at the office and was still recovering from a pretty bad hangover from being out late. I had just sat down and taken my first sip of coffee, and in walked someone I didn't recognize. I asked her how I could help, and with a strange look she said, "Help? It's me, Anthony. Margaret." I stared up at her, and she looked nothing like her at all. It was a young woman. In her early 30s, she was dressed in a gray blazer, dress pants, and heels. She gave a rather uncomfortable grin and asked if I had too much to drink last night. I was understandably confused and slightly annoyed and asked her if this was some sort of joke. She laughed and told me that I was being silly. I told her this isn't funny and I want to know where Margaret was. She just laughed it off and suggested we start getting to work on this next case. She sat down at her desk like it was no big deal and just started reading over a case file, wearing that big grin. I decided not to ask further about Margaret as I was pretty sure this wasn't going to go anywhere, so I decided to just let it play out. I mean, maybe it was a prank. Perhaps Margaret paid this woman to pretend to be her in an effort to catch my goat. So we carried on the day like normal, if you could call it that. Her wife Courtney stopped by the office and brought her lunch. She ran up and kissed her cheek with the same enthusiasm of a newlywed bride. I was surprised at first. I asked Courtney if she knew who this person was, and she thought I was joking. She told me this is Margaret, her wife. This was the moment I realized. This wasn't a prank. Courtney is a bad liar and would always avoid eye contact whenever she was lying. When I questioned her about Margaret, she was looking me in the eyes. I wanted to ask further about how this could possibly be Margaret, but what use would that be? They'd just start to think I'm being crazy. I've done this job enough over the years to know when not to ask questions. I spent the day interviewing possible new clients with this thing that was not my partner. The Margaret I knew was tall and had long, dark, black-blue colored hair and piercing green eyes. But this thing had short, sandy blonde hair and bright blue eyes. It was unsettling, to say the least. I didn't know what to do. How could I prove that this person or thing was not my partner? She left for a bathroom break, so I figured I'd examine her desk. First thing that caught my eye was that her wedding picture had changed. It was as if the Margaret I knew was swiped out for this new, not Margaret. I had passed by that picture every day when I came into work, and this couldn't have been the same photo. For some reason, I had this urge to check the photos on my phone. As I looked at them, I was horrified. All of the pictures of Margaret were replaced, just like the one on her desk. It was impossible to comprehend. This person I've been working with for years just suddenly vanishes like she never even existed. I ran back to my desk just as the thing that was pretending to be Margaret returned from her bathroom break. She looked at me and just gave me the same wide grin. She knew what she was doing. A few days passed by and I was staying home. The office wasn't safe. I didn't know where to start. All I knew was that I needed to get to the bottom of this. What was I supposed to do? How do you prove an imposter is an imposter when it seems to have the ability to manipulate reality to make it seem like it's always been there? Maybe there was a blind spot I could exploit somehow. The only thing I could think of was the pictures. I had plenty on my phone, but did it affect Polaroids? I did have a few of them with us lying around. I found an old photo album and started searching for them. And I found 3 pictures of Margaret. My Margaret. There she was, exactly as I remembered her. I wondered if this was going to be enough to prove to Courtney that her wife wasn't the woman she had married. I decided to return to work the next day and keep an eye on this, not Margaret. She didn't do much out of the ordinary apart from the usual paperwork and meeting with potential clients that came in. She seemed to be paying just as much attention to me. It must know that I'm onto it. So, after over a week of just keeping an eye on it, they invited me out for a drink since it was Friday. But I told them I wasn't really feeling well and decided to just head home. They seemed disappointed, but didn't stop me. I had a feeling it was going to try something to get the better of me, and I decided I would wait at home and see if it would try to follow me and try something. So I lit a cigarette and waited in my apartment for something to happen. The hours went by, and nothing happened. How odd that was. Wasn't it trying to get the upper hand on me? I didn't know what I should do till I got a text on my phone. And it was a picture of Courtney, staring, and the old warehouse just outside of the city. It was followed with the words, "We have a nice surprise for you. Come, join us." She's using Courtney to get to me. Smart. It's what I would have done. Well, I knew I had to act fast, so I ran out to my car and tried to get there as quickly as possible. I pulled up to the warehouse. It was a large building decaying and falling apart, rusted to hell and probably filled with asbestos from top to bottom. I entered the building. It was dark, with only a few sources of light in the entire building. I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight. I started walking down the metallic corridor. I was starting to be reminded of an old horror game I used to play, where creatures would be hiding around every corner, ready to jump you. That's what wandering into this warehouse felt like, just waiting for something to jump out at any second. I started to hear a scream. It sounded like Courtney. I ran as fast as I could and came across a staircase. I ran up the stairs and walked into a large room, and there she was. What I saw is difficult to describe, but I'll try my best. The thing that was pretending to be my partner was big. Its limbs had stretched out as it towered over us like a giant. Its eyes were pure milky white, and all around its body were screaming faces swirling around, desperately trying to claw out of that organic prison. There's no way to describe the horror that I felt. It looked down at me almost as if it hadn't noticed I had entered the room. "Welcome, Anthony. I'm glad you could join us." The impossible grin was wider now, and it displayed its very sharp teeth. Courtney looked in terror and shouted, "What the hell is this thing?" I told her, "It's the thing that killed your wife." The creature started laughing, taking such amusement from the pain it created. And she was delicious. I pulled out my gun and started firing bullets into its fleshy body. It seemed to do little damage, so I grabbed Courtney and we ran out of that room as fast as we could. We were halfway down the stairs when the creature burst through the doors. I dropped my phone during the rush, so we had no light. We had to think of something. How could we kill this creature? If bullets don't work, what will? Courtney and I hid behind some large pillars and out of sight of the creature. I lit my lighter so we could see where we were going. Then, as I looked at it, I got an idea. I asked Courtney if she had any pepper spray handy. She handed me the spray off her keychain, and I took out my lighter. I told her very carefully, "When I say run, run." The creature was moving around slowly, lurking. "Anthony, Courtney, please come out. I don't mean any harm. I just want you to become part of me and join my little family." Family. Is it some sort of flesh hive? It's not enough that it consumes its victims. It keeps them alive by making you become one with it. I can't think of a greater hell. Eyeing the exit sign, I told Courtney to run. She dashed as fast as possible, and the creature chased after her, giving me enough time to run up behind it. I took the pepper spray and lit my lighter, and it became a flamethrower. The creature screamed in agony as its entire body mass was engulfed in flames. It ran around until finally collapsing to the ground and burning until it was nothing but ash. I examined the remains and didn't find anything left of it. I just had to make sure this thing was dead and finished. I exited the building and found Courtney hugging her knees, crying quietly. I sat down next to her. I shared my regret and sadness that we couldn't save Margaret. She didn't understand what I was sorry for, considering I was the one that saw through the thing's disguise. Did I see through it, though? Or was I just lucky enough to not be affected by its power to warp reality? I don't know how long we waited, but as soon as we heard the police sirens, I knew it was best to leave. It's been a few weeks since the incident, and I haven't seen much of Courtney. She's probably still grieving. Can't exactly get over the death of a loved one right away. I'm still recovering from the shock and mental scars it left me. I'll manage, and I'm glad that creature is dead. I only hope there aren't more like it out there. I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I did. I think Tyler has a lot of skill, and I hope he'll submit plenty more stories to come. And by the way, if you want to submit a story you think fits Weekly Spooky, send us an email at weeklyspooky@gmail.com and we'll give it a read, and you never know, we just might feature it on the program. And you can also go to weeklyspooky.com for any other needs you may have, whether it's getting in touch with us, finding older episodes, there are over 150 of those, or backing us on Patreon. And I want to say a huge thank you to our brand new patrons. You guys are awesome. We're at 89 patrons. Can we make it to 100 by the end of this year? That's my goal. And the starting price is only $1 a month. You get bonus episodes, including the weekly spooky creepypastas, and so much more. I really do appreciate it. I cannot believe how big the Patreon has grown. And boy, am I excited for October. Speaking of Patreon, I want to say a big thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay just a little bit more to hear their names on the show. And they are Christopher Sullivan, Brent McCullough, Gino Lyons, Steve King, Karen Weemet, Jack Kerr, Jeff and George Hilton, Craig Cohen, and Kevin Fry. Thank you all so very much. And if any of my listeners are in the Cleveland area, I will be at Cinema Wasteland September 30th through October 2nd. I'll be there hanging out, signing autographs, and selling movies. Stop by and say hello. But for now, my friends, it's time to wrap things up because things are really busy over here at Weekly Spooky as October approaches. So please stay safe, stay well. Thank you for listening. And for myself, for my executive producer, Rob Fields, my producer, Dan Wilder, and my composer, Ray Mattis, I will talk at you next time.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.